This video is sponsored by Brilliant. 13 Reasons Why Season 2 came out 5 months ago. It has themes of suicide, rape, and mental health. But underneath the facade of these emotionally powerful themes is a badly paced, bland mess. But the bigger insult of Season 2 is that it only exists to make money. Its original twisted message on suicide in the first season has now been further contorted and confused. It's very difficult to criticize constructively, not because of its fake stance on mental health, but because this is no longer a show that stands for anything at all. But 13 Reasons Why wasn't made for me. Its target audience is clearly teenage girls who like things like K-pop and dishcloths. I don't really know. I'm more of an ITV Proro man myself. So why am I talking about this show? Well, this is my 20th video. And if I was ever gonna make a sequel, it would be to the video with 1.8 million views, because this is a fucking business. That's right. Each and every one of you simply represent another dollar in my fat fanny pack. Also, some of you may have realized that I deleted the video where I gave out my PO box address. That's just because I've shut that down now. I wasn't being sent enough, clearly. However, I am going to be opening what you guys did send me as part of this review, just for a bit of fun, spice up the review a bit. So, without further ado, let's rate 13 Reasons Why Season 2. I don't know if you watched my video on Season 1, but it seems the showrunners decided to make an entire season solely to address everything I brought up in it, which, I mean, I'm flattered. But it's too late now. I mean, look how Season 2 opens. This is all unadulterated, unedited footage. This is exactly how it opens, unchanged. My name is Kangaroo Jack, and I play Hannah Baker. My name is Smucky Boy, and I play Clay Jensen.
My name is Bruce Nipples, and I play the rapist in the series.
This show contains visceral, up-close imagery of me killing myself. If you're struggling with mental health issues, just don't watch this show, please.
Netflix really fucked up.
People have killed themselves because of this show. I'm not even fucking joking. Please don't do that. Gonna open a letter now. Dear NitPix, my name is Craig. I'm a 32-year-old professional artist. Wow, Craig, that's really cool. Who lives in Port Slade with my mum and dad. I've been subbed to your channel after you exposed Chris Chibnall for the fraud he is. And Jodie, okay, Craig, yeah, Craig is quite a big fan of the channel. He's not too happy about the new Doctor Who. We're gonna look at this drawing now. I've never been sent a drawing before, so I'm quite excited. Okay, so it's me, Batman, and Craig hanging out here. I'm gonna put this one up. Thank you so much, Craig. It's really impressive stuff. With these preachy, apologetic messages at the start, it seems Season 2 has had a change of heart. But does it reflect in the content? Let's examine the content. The crux of this season, all 13 hours of it, is Hannah Baker's parents suing the school for being responsible for her suicide. Her parents argue that the school was aware and allowed Hannah Baker to be bullied, and her safety wasn't considered. Whereas the school intelligently argues back that Hannah was a crazy slut who took drugs and bullied some other girl in a different school a few years ago.
I created a Facebook group where people posted awful memes about me.
Here come that boy shit, what up?
So just like the first season, the show aims to look into who's responsible when a child dies by suicide. But just like the first season, it's the same exact events being retold and the same vague platitudes about mental health being reinstated by the same characters. But this court case isn't in the narrative to try and change the environment of the show or create character arcs. It's purely contrived so they can recontextualize the first season back to the fans. So what shocking truths are revealed? Are we gonna find out that Hannah was lying on the tapes? Did she have previous attempts? Did her parents cover it up? Oh no, nothing like that. Everyone just confirms that everything Hannah said on the tapes was in fact right. She left out some information, but nothing important is actually revealed. Everyone goes over what we've already seen before, and then there's one additional scene that reveals minuscule information that doesn't really matter. For example, Tyler did a photo shoot with Hannah that she didn't mention on the tapes. That contextualizes everything. No, it doesn't. You still took pictures of Hannah undressing like a creep, you Jesse Einstein looking freak. Hannah confronted Marcus and grabbed his little snapper? So what? How does this information change anything? I'm pretty sure making an hour-long tape about how he's responsible for your suicide is way darker. But the biggest revelation by far, the revelation that changes how you see season 1 completely, is that Hannah and Zach were dating for the entire summer before she killed herself. Full on romantic dating. They lost their virginity to each other and were intimate for 2 to 3 months. On Hannah's tape directed towards Zach, she never mentions this or speaks about him with familiarity or kindness. She just rambles on about him stealing her bunny pictures after everything they went through. That's the only thing that's on her mind before she kills herself. Bunny pictures. You are a freak, Hannah. She talks about him on the tapes the same way as how she talks about Tyler or Justin. Like he's a casual acquaintance she met a handful of times. Then you look at Zach's response to Hannah's death in season 1. He's a bit sulky and is barely affected by it. Alex shoots himself in the head, Clay is constantly having breakdowns, and neither of them knew Hannah as well as Zach did. It delegitimizes the strong connection that Clay and Hannah supposedly have, as he only kissed her one time and was away during that entire summer. But after this revelation is revealed, everyone maintains that Clay is the only person that actually understood and loved Hannah. Zach has not offered any therapy, and everyone ignores that it ever happened. Which begs the question, why did they write in this colossal wrecking ball that massively fucks up their story? The same reason any dumb flashback or bit of information is shoved in our faces. To fill up the 13 hours of screen time, or to give Hannah Baker more screen time, or because the fans like high school romance. Even if it doesn't make any sense, they know people will ship it. Hell, even I ship it. Those two are cute. It's clear that they did not have these revelations in mind when they were writing the first season. They just clumsily added in a bunch of stupid shit to fill up screen time without thinking twice about it. These flashbacks this season only exist for one thing. It's to make money. Because they know at this point the fans of this show will love every minute of this pig shit and then demand more while licking their plates. Please more. But you already knew that. You already knew this show is dumb and badly written. You're not watching this because you want to be surprised or shown a new perspective. You just wanted another video that contributes to the circle jerk about a show that everyone already knows is bad. That's why you clicked on this video, and I know that. And that's why I made this video. Because you'll click it and add to the fat wad of cash in my fanny pack. Quick, another package here. We've had a few duds, but that's not gonna ruin our parade here. It's Mr. and Mrs. Smith on Blu-ray. Strange thing to send, but maybe someone wants me to review it or talk about it. Maybe there's a letter in. There isn't a disc in there, so maybe it's a joke. I don't really get it, but thanks for nothing. Almost every character in 13 Reasons Why Season 2 has one unifying aspect. They're all sad. Miserable teenagers that only talk about their trauma, how upset they are, and how shit everything is. Needless to say, the season is filled with suicide, rape, and bullying. It's all anyone talks about. The trauma is their identity now. Alex shot himself in the head at the end of the last season, but after his coma, he's out of hospital and looking surprisingly well considering a bullet went through his skull. He's now disabled, but not in an ugly way. He's still all sexy. He's constantly talking about how broken he is and how no one cares about him, and it just gets so repetitive. There is not one scene with Jess where she isn't framed as a rape victim. Every interaction, everything she does is framed as a result of experiencing trauma. But we need to address the elephant in the room, or more accurately, the Hannah in the room, because she's a ghost now, haunting Clay Jensen day and night. Scary. Clay Jensen is now hallucinating his dead friend. She follows him about everywhere, and he has long conversations with her. Clearly, Clay is suffering from psychosis and needs help. This is a show that opens with a mental health warning and makes a huge song and dance about teenagers getting the help they need. But Clay's psychosis is never treated, never discussed, or even mentioned. Unless he's mentally stable and it is a legitimate haunting. I mean, Remy in Ratatouille is hallucinating a dead man through the whole film, and his psychosis is never mentioned or treated. But that's a quirky, surreal, light-hearted comedic adventure. It is constantly breaking that line of realism realism. 13 Reasons Why is a drama that wants to be taken seriously. A drama that supposedly speaks for teenagers struggling with mental health. So what the fuck is with this Scooby-Doo bullshit? I'm not qualified to inform people on mental health and give advice. However, I do know what it's like to receive a constant stream of bullying every day. I know what it's like to be called nasty names, and sometimes it makes you want to run and hide. I know if I'm hallucinating my dead friend that I'm supposed to call my therapist immediately, but Clay Jensen is acting as if it's fully normal. So she's here as a ghost for 2 reasons. 1, to give Hannah Baker more screen time. It wouldn't feel like 13 Reasons Why if Hannah Baker wasn't there justifying her dumb decisions. 2, so Clay has someone he can talk to about Hannah. Who else would listen to his pathetic whining? But you don't need me to point out and explain to you why Hannah Baker coming back as a ghost is forced and stupid. Ultimately, the way Hannah is integrated into the plot of season 2 through hallucinations and flashbacks feels like my Mr. and Mrs. Smith Blu-ray. It looks like it might work, but under scrutiny, it's empty and meaningless. Hannah as a ghost doesn't inform Clay as a character, doesn't change Clay, doesn't affect the narrative, it's just scenes. So it is meaningless in every sense of the word. Maybe these scenes could be justified if he was talking to the real Hannah, but this is the equivalent of filming Clay alone in his room, shouting at himself, which is what I'm doing right now. Meaningless shouting into the void of YouTube, asking myself, is anyone really there? Okay, so we have our last package today and ever. It's a lamp. Literally, it's just a lamp. There isn't a note or any kind of thing on there. There isn't a message. It's just a lamp, and I don't really understand why someone would send me a lamp. I don't really understand why it's funny. It hasn't got a bulb, it's ugly as well. I guess it's sort of a meme at the moment. I guess that's the end then. That's the end of the unboxing segment of this video, and I guess it's just what happens when I try and do something different, when I try and change it up a bit.
Coco is a masterpiece. Is this a budget? I hate everything.
Disliked, unsubbed, and flagged for abuse. Delete your channel, you bitch. Forgot this guy existed. What a loser. This guy sounds like a virgin.
I'm the great Genie Yeah! You've awakened me from my mystic slumber! And now I get to grant you! Yes! You! Wishes of a specific number! It's 3. You get 3 wishes. Please don't kill me. Oh jeez, it looks like I might have overdone this a little bit. I'm really sorry, man.
Listen, man, 6 billion trillion years ago, yeah? I knew this guy, and his name was Prasheen Lateen. He reminds me a lot of you in many ways, except obviously this guy, he had 2 heads and lived on an entirely different planet. But like you, he was shy, afraid, and an itsy-bitsy bit hostile. Took me 17 weeks to win the guy over, but when he came round, he started making the most fabulous, the most amazing wishes you could ever imagine.
I don't want your wishes, Genie. I don't want them.
My point is, he hadn't seen Shazam. But you've seen Shazam, haven't you?
Yeah, of course I've seen Shazam.
Right. So what happens when the little boy at the end of the movie decides to trust Sinbad?
They have a good time. They do some cool magic stuff.
Exactly, bro. And I'm your Genie bro.
Bro, like what's up with your eyebrows?
Bro, these are my Chindle discs. Do you not like them? This is the talk of Genie Town. I put these on specifically for you.
Could I touch them?
Yeah, no, go ahead. Yeah, they're very sensitive, though.
Oh, yeah!
Did that hurt you?
No, that felt great. That felt really good, actually. Do you want to touch them again? Come on.
No,
me and you.
actually, I'm
Let's
feeling a little
have snug.
claustrophobic.
I love you.
So I could wish for like anything in the whole wide world.
Anything in the whole universe, actually.
I want to be small.
What?
I want to be small, like Matt Damon in Downsizing, but like even smaller. I want to be Tinsy. I want to be Speck. Please, Genie, please make it so. I wish it.
Look around you.
I'm small! Genie, I'm small! Look at me!
Hang on, mate. I'm not quite getting you right, but like, don't worry about it. I've got a quick fix for this one. Here we go. This will find you. No problem. How's it going, little man?
Genie.
Yeah?
I think I know what I want my second wish to be.
Yeah?
Could you finish my YouTube video for me? And then after that I'll use my last wish to go big again. 'Cause at the moment I quite like being small. I want to stay small for a bit.
Okay, yeah. Sure thing, little man.
Yay!
I could probably enjoy the pointless flashbacks and the melodramatic teen angst if it told its story in an exciting or interesting way. But alas, this is one of the most boring and dull 13 hours of my life. There is no ambition for visual storytelling, and similar to Live by Night, this entire season could exist as an audiobook. At least in season 1, when Clay was being haunted by the guilt of Hannah's death, there was a desire to show it visually. The school had a visual personality, and there was a variety of different scenes. The characters were introduced slowly, one by one. The tapes had a sense of escalation to them, starting with small high school drama and escalating to death and rape. The writing was dumb, but because the structure was based on a book, there was a lot of content. Things happened, revelations about characters had impact, and though it had long, boring moments, its pacing was relatively good for a 13-hour season. With season 2, the plot is so ambient. The focus is on scenes of teenagers discussing how sad they are, on flashbacks and hallucinations. The actual things that happen in the show, narratively, are few and far between. The first season had tapes. So what about the second season? Polaroids? They're retro too. Not every episode though, just every now and then. Usually with threatening messages attached to it. Everyone's getting creepy threats to keep their mouth shut. This is like the mystery of the season, guys. And straight away, everyone's like, that's Bryce. Bryce is probably doing this. But other options are considered. In the end, the big twist is that it was Bryce. As if it could be Clay Jensen's mum or this guy. Bryce is the only antagonist and the only one that has anything to lose, so you don't have to be a detective to figure this shit out. The season isn't narratively focused. There isn't a desire to tell any specific story with this season, and as a result, the pacing is so static. This scene with Zach and Alex pretty much sums up every scene in this show. The characters discuss what has previously happened in the episode.
Jessica and I kissed yesterday.
Seriously?
Yeah, well, but then she freaked out on me.
And tell each other exactly what they think and feel.
It's when we kissed, I couldn't even feel anything.
Oh, so cute. Another thing that really fucks me off about this show is that a majority of the scenes start with a character entering a room, a 2 to 3 minute conversation, and then to end the scene, one of them just walks away. Clay runs to this cafe to meet Tyler. Probably takes him a while. Then, 1 minute later, he just leaves. Aren't you gonna at least, order a latte? In conclusion, I'm just going to say what you went into this video expecting to hear. 13 Reasons Why Season 2 is a failure, and depending on how you want to see it, maybe even more so than the first season. Because despite Season 1 being hugely off the mark and being potentially dangerous in many ways, at the very least, it did open up a dialogue. It opened up a dialogue about how mental health needs to be talked about in media. Some argued that Season 1 was helpful to their mental health, and I would never want to diminish or take away that impact it had on people. Season 2, however, stripped itself of all depth. The first season ended with a montage that showed Tyler looking at his huge crate of guns. It was implied that he was going to do a school shooting. I have absolutely no doubt that 13 Reasons Why would have fucked up and disrespected thousands of people that have been affected by school shootings. However, if they had done that, the themes would have been different, the focus would have been different, and there would have been a clear story they wanted to tell. That would have been something we could take artistic value from. But season 2 of 13 Reasons Why is the first season season, but without the controversy. It's the first season without purpose, without plot, and without any artistic intention. You could argue that putting in warnings at the start is the responsible thing to do. You could argue that trying to fix the mistakes that were so present in the first season is a step in the right direction. You might think that I should compliment Netflix for taking an uncontroversial, considered, and soft approach to the second season, but the truth is, the most responsible thing Netflix could have done is just not make a second season. But we'll all watch the third season anyway, and keep talking about it, because for some reason, we all like shitting on predictably bad and dumb art, instead of advocating or looking for something good that's actually worth talking about. We'll all just forever entrap ourselves in the same space of the worst and the shittest, instead of advocating and trying to create something that's actually worth existing. And that, to me, is the insult of 13 Reasons Why. However, what isn't insulting is Brilliant. Brilliant is a fun, interactive, problem-solving website which allows you to escape this eternal void of despair by testing and pushing yourself in a whole range of ways. Brilliant takes complex mathematical and scientific concepts, breaks them up into delicious bite-sized bits where they present clear thinking in each part, and then build back up to a mostly sexy conclusion. Brilliant will for sure have something for you. If you're one of the first 200 people to click the link, you'll get 20% off the annual premium subscription. So help out yourself and help out the channel by giving Brilliant a go. To find out more, go to brilliant.org/nitpix or click the link in the description box below. How was that?
That was really good. Way better than I could ever do.
Well, I got some news for you, little buddy. I didn't have anything to do with the video. It was you, all along.
Oh.
You never needed me. The power to be good was in your heart. My tiny little tittle man. It was you, all along.
Thank you, Genie.
They'll be making lemonade on a bright sunny day. They'll always be there for each other. Take up the genie and the boy. Take up the genie and the boy. Take up the genie and